On today's show, the LA Clippers lost their second straight game in the second half of a back-to-back against the Oklahoma City Thunder. What went so wrong without Kawhi Leonard and Bradley Beal? And are the Clippers in panic mode already? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA, been a Clipper fan for 21 years, been covering the team on my own personal YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, and 4 years right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, 6 years on Dime Dropper, 4 on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know every single time we post a video on the road to 8,000 subscribers before the end of the year. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, Clipper Nation, another day, another loss. I am recording at 1 a.m., just came home from Intuit. We'll have a vlog on my channel out to see what fans were saying at the game. And another very solid atmosphere at Intuit from the wall. But it came in a losing effort yet again. We knew we were going to lose this game, especially without Kawhi and Bradley Beal. In the first half, we were actually competing. We did a really solid job. We were up 1 at halftime. But I'm going to be talking about what went wrong for us in that second half and players that I'm very concerned about. Now, last night, I was very disappointed on the pod, if you listen to it. I was very disappointed on the pod. I was very disappointed at the game because I kind of penciled in that Miami game as a game we needed to win because I knew that we had the Oklahoma City Thunder next on the second out of a back-to-back. They haven't lost one game, and they still don't even have Jalen Williams, their second-best player, arguably. You can argue Chet Holmgren. So it was kind of like a scheduled loss. And even before the season started, when I was going through the first 10 games and I said, we need to be 7-3 or 8-2, and that will confirm to me that we can be a top 3 seed and we're very serious this season. Well, I said the Warriors game and the Thunder game would be losses. I was right. However, I did not expect us to come out and not give a damn against the Utah Jazz, and I also didn't expect us to lose to the Miami Heat at home. We are currently 3-4. We should be 5-2, but we're not. So we're not going to be able to achieve that 7-3 start that I talked about. The best we can do, and we'd have to win these 3 games next, is 6-4. So I'm very disappointed in this team to start the season. Now, in this game, of course, no Kawhi Leonard and no Bradley Beal. They were out with injury management on the second out of a back-to-back. Apparently, Kawhi Leonard, from what I heard, had a little bit of a tweaked hamstring or something, but it just says rest. It just says rest. So, and then Bradley Beal's dealing with that back injury and obviously went through that knee procedure. He was still in a minutes restriction to start the season. So, no Kawhi, no Brad against the Thunder. I did not expect us to win. We started Chris Dunn, Derek Jones Jr., Nicholas Batum, Ivica Zubac, and James Harden. And honestly, that starting lineup did a really good job of going out there and defending. You obviously have 3 really solid perimeter defenders and point of attack guys in Nico, DJ, and Chris Dunn in that starting lineup. And you saw that kind of paying dividends with the way they were working, the way they were flying around on D. We actually led 33-23 after 1. It was a very solid performance to start the game. We had James Harden on Lou Dort. We had Nico Batum on Chet Holmgren, DJ on SGA, Zoo on Isaiah Hartenstein, and Chris Dunn on Cason Wallace. Obviously, Zubac's in drop coverage. And Isaiah Hartenstein and Jalen Williams from Arkansas were also in drop coverage on the other side. But yeah, I thought our defensive activity was great. James Harden was on fire from 3 to begin the game. He had 17 points in the first quarter. And I also thought Bogey, who we got to see in this game, played pretty well. Had some good reads in the pick and roll, was competing a little bit on defense in that first half, and even finally hit a 3-pointer. So we led by 10 points after 1. And you know what the best stat about that first quarter was? 0 turnovers. Why did we lose that game to the Heat last night? Turnovers. What does OKC do super well? put on a lot of ball pressure and turn you over. And I was talking about it with Adam on the radio before the game. We needed to take care of the ball to win this game. And to start the first quarter, just to start the game, in that first quarter, we did not turn the ball over once, which is why we were up by 10. And then they started rolling in. 8 turnovers in the second quarter, resulting in 15 OKC points, and then 6 turnovers in the third quarter. So points off turnovers was the key stat for me. We ended up turning the ball over 19 times, which led to 34 Thunder points. They only turned the ball over 11 times. They shot 52%. We shot 41%. But both teams made 18 threes. They shot 47%. We shot 42%. And we actually shot well from the free throw line and shot 5 more free throws than them. They shot 82% from the line. We shot 85% from the line. And in the rebound battle, we beat them there, 42-40. So the main statistic that sticks out to me when you look at the team stats is the turnovers. 19 of them for us. That resulted in 34 Thunder points, 28 fast break points, and they had 50 points in the paint to our 30. The Thunder win it 126-107. But why did the turnovers happen? It's very simple. The ball pressure. Every single team knows that we're old. And guys like CP3, Bogey, James Harden, these guys got to do a better job taking care of the ball. I know Bogey, he's not played much, so I'll exclude him. But at halftime, we were still winning. Even though the Thunder outscored us 33-24, we were still winning by a point, 57-56. So my whole takeaway at halftime was, if we just take care of the ball, we will be good. But one cause for concern, and this is partially on the Thunder's depth, or a credit to their depth, we did not take advantage in that first half of the non-SGA minutes at all. And in the second half, it was even worse. The third quarter was actually very even for a while. We went down by 6 at one point, and then Brook Lopez hit 2 huge threes to kind of restore order. But late in the quarter, SGA started to cook. Isaiah Joe started hitting threes. And I thought, James Harden's defense, maybe he was just working too hard on offense, but I thought his defense was atrocious. Every time anybody challenged him, they just got right by him. But we got outscored 38-29 in the third quarter. We went into the fourth quarter with an 86-94 deficit, so 8-point game. And the Thunder proceeded to go on an 11-0 run to start the quarter without SGA. And it was the turnovers. That lineup of Chris Paul, Brook Lopez, Bogey, Chris Dunn, and John Collins just didn't do it. Just didn't do it at all. And Ivica Zubac didn't even check back into the game. Like, that's how bad we were. That's how out of the question the game was in that fourth quarter. We didn't even have Zoo check back into the game for Brook Lopez. James Harden only played 2 minutes in that fourth quarter. So you can make the argument, did Ty Lue keep our starters out too long? In my opinion, they have to get a little bit of a break. These guys are in a second out of a back-to-back. We're already an old team. You got to be able to give James Harden a breather after that third quarter. And James played 9 minutes of that third. Zoo played 9 minutes of that third. What's a little more concerning, though, is that Zoo and James in the third quarter combined for 5 points between the two of them. And we needed more. Derrick Jones Jr. actually had a great third quarter. He had 9 points, but 6 turnovers. 2 from Zoo, 1 in the third. 2 from Zoo, 1 from DJ, 1 from James, 1 from John Collins, and another from Brook Lopez. So everybody contributed to the turnover fest, and we're not taking care of the ball. It is what it is with OKC. But honestly, Clipper Nation, I wouldn't be too mad about this loss because we're just not better than them, especially without Kawhi and Beal. It would have been a hard game to win even with Kawhi and Beal. So this isn't the loss to be mad about, if I'm being honest. The loss to be mad about was last night against Miami. Or if you're listening on Wednesday, which you are, Monday night against Miami. That was the loss to be disappointed about. Opening night against the Jazz, that was the night to be disappointed about. But the turnovers are a very consistent thing this season. And we thought one guy would be able to mitigate that because he's known for taking care of the ball. And I'm going to be talking about why he has been a major problem coming up. And I think everybody knows who I'm talking about, unfortunately. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Right now, when we're talking about FanDuel and the NBA odds and stuff like that, we got NBA Finals odds. The Thunder are number one by a lot at plus 200. The Denver Nuggets are plus 700. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are tied with the Nuggets at plus 700. Unfortunately, our LA Clippers have now moved to like 13th place. We have worse odds than the Philadelphia 76ers. We're actually in 11th place. So if you still have confidence this Clipper team is going to win the championship, FanDuel is the place to be. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I got to tell you a little something about Rugiet. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED, designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. Visit rugiet.com/lockedonnba to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/lockedonnba, and don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONNBA so they know we sent you. Rugiet. Stop making excuses and start making moves. All right, Clipper Nation. Talking about this 126-107 loss to the still undefeated Oklahoma City Thunder. SGA, former Clipper, of course, had 30 points and 12 assists and didn't even play the fourth quarter. He had 30 points in 29 minutes on 14 shots and didn't even play the fourth quarter. The guy is a top 2 player in the league for me. Third at worst if you think Giannis is better. But I don't think that Luka's better. I don't think that, like, SGA is just so good now. It's kind of sad. It's honestly very sad. But hey, that's a Kawhi thing. And you can say the organization, but I blame it on Kawhi. I've already talked about that before. But forget it. We got to move on, right? CP3. He has been a colossal disappointment. I love Chris Paul. He is my first or second favorite Clipper ever. You know, I was ecstatic. I literally almost got emotional when we got him and I was doing this pod when we, like, the reaction to us getting him. But I never in a million years thought he would look this washed. He's been a net negative in every sense. He cannot stay in front of a soul. He'll occasionally have some moments where he can get away with a little bit of fouls and he can get a steal, but he cannot stay in front of anyone. And it puts our defense in a tough position every time. Secondly, back in the day, when you put ball pressure on Chris Paul, he would either blow right past you or make you look silly. Now he's looking to get rid of the ball because he knows he can't blow by anybody. He's turning his back like he's Magic Johnson, even though Magic was 6'9" and had to dribble with a pronated handle where you have to keep your hand largely on top of the basketball, as opposed to now where guys can get away with carries left and right. It just shows you. And then beyond that, he's almost getting an 8-second violation walking up the court every single time. And we're at 12 or 11 on the shot clock by the time we get into anything. He cannot create any separation turning the corner on his pick and rolls. He's not getting into that mid-range jumper at all because, as I said, he cannot create separation. And even his decision-making seems slow. I remember one time Brook Lopez came to set a screen and he waved him off. And then 7 seconds later, he got a screen from the same player, Brook Lopez. I think maybe he didn't like the spacing, but like, it's so methodical. And CP3's always been methodical, but now it's like methodical and you're not getting a good shot. We're not getting good shots with him on the floor right now. He can barely create his own shot. He's not making the open ones that he gets. He's never moved without the basketball in his life, and he's now not good on ball anymore, and he still doesn't move without the basketball. In that second quarter, he really started the change in momentum. He was turning the ball over. He looked old. He was just giving up the ball when he was getting pressured. 2 turnovers immediately and got blown by. And Isaiah Hartenstein was hedging the screens on the bogey CP3 pick and pop, because if you drop against that, you're leaving Lopez wide open for 3. At least if he's hedging the screens, he's going to kind of get Lopez to put the ball on the floor a little bit. But I can't even defend the Chris Paul stuff, because we got Chris Paul to alleviate some pressure off of James Harden. It has not alleviated a thing. When James Harden came out of that game in that second half, we collapsed immediately. And I know that I've talked about there's avenues around that with Kawhi and Beal and Zoo, but we didn't have Kawhi or Beal, and Zoo was out of the game with Harden. So Chris Paul needs to be better. But honestly, I'm honestly done with the Chris Paul needs to be better thing. I genuinely believe after watching this game on Tuesday night, Bogey should play instead of Chris Paul. Chris Paul should be the 11th man. He should be the odd man out. Because Bogey, at least in the first half, showed that he could still turn the corner and pick and roll. He's still taller. He can get his shot off. You know, he still looks like he's closer to being in his prime, because he is closer to being in his prime. Chris Paul just looks geriatric, and we're already too old as is. And I love Chris Paul. It's paining me to say this, but I'm waiting for a good game. We're 7 games into the season. This man had another donut in 11 minutes, had 3 assists, 1 rebound, and 1 turnover, got 1 shot off, and it was a 3, and he was a minus 24 in 11 minutes. Minus 24. He's had 3 games out of 7 where he hasn't scored a point. He hasn't gotten more than 5 shots off in a game. There is absolutely nothing to say, unfortunately, for Chris Paul. Nothing. And I love the guy. Like, I truly love the guy. But there is nothing to say. There is nothing to say. Just saying he needs to be better? No. He needs to be taken out of the rotation when we get Beal and Kawhi next game, if we get him against Phoenix. It's that bad. It's really that bad. He's not helping us on either end of the floor. Bogdanović at least had 11 points tonight, 6 rebounds and 4 assists and 2 steals and a turnover on 3 for 8 shooting and 2 for 6 from 3, 3 for 4 from the foul line. So he didn't actually end up shooting well. It's not like he's been looking good either. And defensively in the second half, he was late on his rotations. He was just a non-existent factor on the defensive end, or should I say a liability on the defensive end. However, he's been out of the rotation, so I'm not going to be as harsh on him. I genuinely believe, I mean, Chris Paul hasn't even scored in double figures, so Bogdanović tonight already did that. So honestly, CP3 needs to be moved to the bench. And it is what it is. Like, not moved to the bench, moved to being out of the rotation. Like, I genuinely think we could get more from Kobe Sanders at this point than Chris Paul right now. Genuinely. And he wasn't this bad in San Antonio last year. Like, that's what shocks me, is he's falling off a cliff. He played 82 games and was their starting point guard, and they were actually winning games before Wemby got hurt. It's hard to believe with the way he's playing. And it's not going to help James Harden. And that's ultimately what we need. We cannot have James Harden taxed so much. The second he cooled down in this game, it was just like the Warriors game. We just fell apart. And at least in this game, we didn't have Kawhi. Whereas in the Warriors game, we did. James Harden had 17 points in the first quarter, and he had 8 the rest of the game. 25 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. To go a step further, he had 22 points at halftime and only scored 3 the rest of the game. 7 for 17 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and 6 for 6 on the free throw line. But it's between James, Chris Paul, even Bogey in this game, we're just dribbling too much. There were so many times where there's a guy wide open 1 pass away, and because it's Chris Dunn or Derrick Jones Jr., they don't want to pass. They're not fooling anyone with that shit. I see exactly what they're doing, and it's hurting our team. Even James Harden, pass the damn ball. We're so stagnant. It's very hard to watch. We're slow. Everyone's like, we play ISO ball. No, we don't play ISO ball. That's James Harden and Chris Paul's pick and roll, and if they switch, it's ISO. That's just how it is in the NBA, and they're not guys that move without the ball. And that's what also pisses me off. Chris Paul doesn't move without the ball. He doesn't move at all. He will not cut if guys are doubling off of him. He will just stand there. Harden doesn't even. This whole idea that James Harden is a spacer because he can shoot is total BS. He doesn't space. He stands at half court begging for the ball, and then he'll sometimes set a screen if he's not getting it. There was one time in this game I was observing in the first half. Bogey had the ball and he was kind of controlling things, and James was like screaming for the ball at half court at the logo. And Bogey was like, nah. He told Lopez to come set him a screen. I thought that was really funny because no one stands up to Harden like that. And he actually ended up making a good read on the play. I think John Collins got an open three, and I don't know if he made it or not, but it was the right read. But James eventually ended up, I think, setting a screen for him or something. But James, if he's just going to nuke the spacing by going to the ball at half court, like he's limiting us in that way as well. That's very selfish to do that. So I think James has been our best player through 7 games, but that's not saying much for a team that is underachieving. We're underachieving right now. This is not a serious start to the season. And I'm not making any bold declarations, but top 3 seed, I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that. And I don't like doing this thing where, Ty Lue does this thing where he's like, oh, we're just working things out. We got to test some things. It's like, dude, this trial and error bullshit, it's like, what are we going to be, 10-10 through 20 games? That's not a top 3 seed kind of attitude. And if you're not a top 3 seed, you're not winning. Especially us. We're the Clippers, man. We need to do things the right way. We're not just going to find a way to get lucky and have some Cinderella story and win a championship. Like, we're not even going to win a round if we're not a top 4 seed, in my opinion. We're too old. But anyway, coming up, let's talk about Zoo more, because this was supposed to be a game for Zoo. I chewed him out last night on the pod, and unfortunately, he's going to have to get a little bit more smoke coming up. I got to tell you a little something about Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in, to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposit save me hours every week. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. One more time, that's gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Clipper Nation. Talked about the team stats, our field goal percentage. We got outscored 38-29 in the third and 32-21 in the fourth. So that equates to a 70-50 second half. I mean, eventually they were going to pull away. They're just a better team than us. Isaiah Joe had 22 points off the bench. Aaron Wiggins had 22 points off the bench. I mean, they just do an amazing job of finding a way to win together. It's a really good team that we are definitely partially responsible for building, unfortunately. Thankfully, we only play them 2 more times the entire season, and one of them's at Intuit, so we only get 3 matchups against them. But I talked about Bogey. He had 11 points. Talked about CP3. He had 0 points. Brook Lopez had a better game. I just think that he's old and slow, and we knew that already. But if he's making pick and pop threes, he's doing his job. He had 12 points in this game in 16 minutes. He had 2 rebounds, 2 turnovers on 4 for 7 shooting, and made all 4 of his threes. But he was a team worst -29, which is not fully on him. When we're playing against 2 bigs, though, I mean, we got to be better. And honestly, like in terms of the rotations tonight with Ty, I don't have much to say. John Collins played 25 minutes and he had 17 points, with 15 of them coming in the first half. But in the second half, they clamped down their defense. And if we're not creating good shots, I mean, John Collins is not really like an ISO guy or a guy you give the ball to and say, go get a bucket, unless he's playing against smaller guys. I thought in the second quarter, we saw some of that where he had a smaller guy on him and he was also finishing on the roll, getting some offensive rebounds, making open threes. So there was some really solid stuff from John Collins in this game, which is only proving that he should play more. But, and this was his highest scoring game as a Clipper, 17 points, but he had 5 turnovers, which is unbelievably inexcusable for a player who does not handle the ball like much. 5 turnovers for John Collins? James Harden actually only had 2 turnovers. So he did a better job of taking care of the ball than last night. But Chris Dunn had 3. Brook Lopez had 2. Ivica Zubac had 2. I mean, we got to do a better job taking care of the ball. We're getting too many moving screens. But let's talk about Zoo, man. So, yeah, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal on 5 for 8 shooting, 1 for 2 from 3, and 6 for 6 on the free throw line for JC. But the 5 turnovers is just too much. But that was it for the bench. We played a 9-man rotation. Collins with 17, Lopez with 12, which is 29, Chris Paul with 0, and then 11 from Bogey. So we got 40 points off our bench. For the Thunder, though, and I'm not counting Cam Christie and Yannick. I'm just counting those guys that played. For the Thunder, though, they got 34 points between Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins alone. And then you get 8 points from AJ Mitchell, which makes 42. Then Caruso gives you 8, that's 50. And then Jalen Williams gets you 3, that's 53. So they had more points off the bench than us too. And I'm not counting Chris Youngblood and Brendan Carlson and Ousmane Dieng. So that's that. And then Chris Dunn had 6 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. 3 turnovers, though. But again, 2 for 4 from the field, 1 for 3 from deep, 1 for 2 from the foul line. He has been off to a good start shooting the ball, which is a nice sign. And then Derrick Jones Jr., I honestly feel bad for him because I think he's been good to start the year. 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 turnover on 5 for 12 shooting, 3 for 7 from deep, and 3 for 3 from the foul line. As far as Nico, we need him to make some threes. Right now, we really need it because he's not giving us enough offensively, and his job is to make open threes. He had 3 points, 1 rebound, 3 dimes, 1 turnover on 1 for 5 shooting, and all his shots were threes. We are going to need him to shoot better from deep. Right now, he is shooting 6 for 20 from 3. So that's 30%. We're going to need better from him, and I honestly feel confident that we'll get better from him. But we got to talk about Zoo. This was a game where we didn't have Beal, we didn't have Kawhi. There was no excuse for Zoo to get at least 14 or 15 shots. And you know what he comes out and does? 8 shots. 3 for 8 from the field, 1 from 2 from the free throw line, a pedestrian 7 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 2 turnovers. No blocks. There's no excuse. I witnessed him have smaller guys on him in this game. He doesn't want it. He's not hungry enough. He doesn't want to be a star. It is what it is. He doesn't want to be a star. Obviously, I'm exaggerating. Of course he wants to be a star. Everybody does. But he's not playing like it. So what am I supposed to say? And then, honestly, let's accept this too. Zoo is not an alpha for an NBA player, right? Personality-wise. So someone's going to have to push him and drag him and say, whenever you have a smaller guy on you, post up, get on the block and ask for the ball. And if you don't, I'm going to scream at you. But I don't think James Harden's going to do that. I think he's very content with isolating instead of Zoo posting up. I think he's very content with getting a screen instead of that. I don't think James Harden's going to be the guy that yells at Zoo to post up. Because you know why? Actually, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it because Harden's doing well. But no, I can't do that to the real Clipper fans. You deserve better. Because he's not going to get an assist. That's why. He's not going to get an assist most likely. That's freaking why. It's like, dude, just throw him the ball. It's going to make your life easier, I promise. That's my theory on it. Because what else is there? What other excuse? You can't be that dumb. I don't think James Harden's dumb. Like, Zubac in the post is an efficient thing. It's an efficient thing based on the numbers, not just my eye test. I have synergy this year. I can tell you that the points per possession with Zubac is good. But we're not doing it enough. And I'm tired of saying we just don't feed him the ball enough. He needs to be more assertive. This is inexcusable to have 8 shots in this game. And it wasn't like Chet and Isaiah Hardenstein are guarding him every time. Pathetic, honestly, the way he started this season. We need at least last year's Zoo, or we're not going to be better this year. We're not. I have people telling me that Lopez should play more than Zoo, which is not true, but it's like, that's where we're at right now. And then, part of me wishes it's like, imagine if we didn't have Harden or Kawhi and we'd be a bad team, but maybe Zubac would finally get the green light to like show how good he really is. But it's like, what would a team with Ivica Zubac as their best player be? Probably not even a play-in team. But would they be fun to root for? I don't know. I'm not even going to get into all that. It's just... And here's my last basketball point tonight. There was a lot of zone being played in this game, and I think we could do a better job moving the ball fast with those zones. But when a guy is driving baseline, and this is not against zone necessarily, but against man-to-man, when a guy is driving baseline on our team, and the big man on the other team is helping, None of our players are on the strong side of the court or flashing to the middle where they're actually accessible for a pass. They're all on the weak side where it's very hard to throw a pass over the big man's head, or like you have the baseline or the basket as another defender. So it's hard to get the ball across the court. Our players need to do a better job of flashing to a spot where when players are driving, they can actually receive the ball. Essentially a spacing issue. It's very noticeable. And everyone's doing it. Zoo, Collins, like we need to do a better job of flashing into an open area when guys are driving baseline, because, baseline help is going to come. You need to counter that by being available. And we're not doing a good job of that. So that's my take. I'm not too mad about this game. Of course, it was disappointing to see how we just collapsed all at once after putting up a very valiant effort through 3 quarters. It's insane to me that I was praising our bench in preseason. That's why you should never take preseason seriously. Because I was like, oh, this team might be good enough to play the second unit and Chris Paul to kill second units off the bench. Chris Paul has been the most disappointing player of the 10 guys in the rotation. The most disappointing. Zubac second. Our bench has been bad. Brook Lopez has been average so far this season, and that's putting it nicely. He's been average. Chris Paul's been awful. Bogey's obviously not been in the rotation. Beal has been on a minutes restriction, so he doesn't even feel like he's part of the team. And then Collins has been good, and he's been limited. And like this lackadaisical stuff from Ty, where he's like, we just need more sample size. And even James Harden said after the game, rotations, who can play together. I mean, it's not what we need to be what we want to be, which is a team that has a top 3 seed or a top 4 seed and has aspirations to win a series or 2. But it's a long season. That's one thing I will say. It's a long season. My adjustments are that Harden, in my opinion, has to take a little bit more of a leadership role in this, because Zoo clearly is just not that dude. But Harden is that dude. And Harden has pull. He's a superstar. Or if you think he's not a superstar anymore, he's still a star. He's been our best player through 7 games. Every time Zoo has a smaller guy on him that's under 6'10", he needs to post up. If not, you got to scream at him. Seriously. I just don't think James is that guy, and Kawhi is definitely not that guy. And some might say, doesn't the coach have to do that? Yeah, I think the coach should do that too. So I will blame Ty a little bit as well on that. Yeah. I'm disappointed. I don't know what else to say. I think our next game is very important. We are playing against the Phoenix Suns, and we have a solid break. We're playing on the road. We're playing on Thursday on the road at Phoenix, who is 3-5, but they're 3-1 at home. If we lose that game, oh boy, it's going to start being rough in terms of the conversations we're going to have about this team. But you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod, although my Twitter's still hacked. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for a vlog of these last 2 games. I captured the experience from the wall, heard from fans, post-game, pre-game. It's just, I try my best to share the experience with everybody. I tried the new birria stack tonight. I tried Gillian Zucker's cookie last night, so I got some food reviews in there too. But yeah, if you want to see, especially for the fans that are not in LA and not in Southern California, I try to share the experience with the people. So check that out on the Dime Dropper channel. And of course, Locked On Clippers, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know every single time we post a video on the road to 8,000 subscribers. I think we'll be fine long term, but what does fine mean? Like, we'll make the playoffs, I think, but it's still early. It's just, when you want to be a top 3 seed, you got to take the season more seriously. And that first game was a very big sign that we're not locked in like we should be. The age-old proverb continues, go Clippers.